You probably didn't start your business to be a writer. I mean, I did, but most of you didn't. But then when you get into it, you're like, what the heck? Everything needs words. Emails, sales pages, landing pages, lead magnets, websites. All of it requires a lot of words, not even mention social media and all of that. If you feel like that's stressful, daunting, overwhelming, and you're just not here for it, I've got some good news. You don't have to hire all of your copy out to write really professional, awesome words that sell and work for you. And today I've got 3 really easy to use tips that are gonna help you do that faster, easier, and make it more effective. Oh hey, I'm Emily. I'm a copywriter who is obsessed with helping business owners like you use your words and personality to make more sales and actually work less. If that's your jam, go ahead and hit subscribe because you're gonna wanna stick around and not miss a thing. So when it comes to writing better, more effective copy and writing faster, the number 1 tip that I wanna share with you today is to write to one person. Here's the deal. When you try to write to everyone, it freaks you out, it gets in your head, and it's too much. You all of a sudden start questioning everything. Will my audience get this joke? Will they understand this reference? Will they be offended by this? All of those things just get in your head when you're trying to write to everyone, because guess what? You can't. And then what happens is you actually end up writing to basically no one. You take all the personality out, all the fun, everything that makes your ideal clients want to read the thing that you're writing in the first place. You get rid of all of that. And so you lose the magic. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pick one specific person, just one. I highly recommend actually picking a real person to teach you how to write to your ideal audience. If you've worked with a client, if there's someone out there who you would love to work with, or maybe it's an actual friend or acquaintance or someone you know just like outside of business who would be a really good fit for what you do, write to that person. Sit down, pretend like you're having a cup of coffee with them. Tell them about your offer. Tell them about what you're selling, and get really personal. What are the jokes you would make if you were talking to that person? What are the references you would make? How would you phrase it? What would you highlight? What would you leave out? What are all of those things that you would automatically, seamlessly like think of when you're chatting with that person? Go through that process, write to that person, and that way you'll get really personal. Your brand voice will come through stronger, and you will avoid any of that boring, generic, vanilla copy that we don't want. Tip number 2 sounds really boring, but I promise it will help you write better. So the idea here is that you're going to plan first and write second. Most of us, when we have to write an email, sit down and we write the email. We have to write some new website copy. We sit down and we write the website copy, right? You pull up the blank page, you panic. If you're me, maybe you have to get an emotional support coffee, but you just sit down and do the thing. What you really need to do is actually plan. So there's just some really basic questions you can ask yourself before you get into the writing that will help make it so much more seamless and help your words flow better and help you really write more effectively. So the first thing you want to think about is what is my goal? So maybe you're writing an email and your goal is that people will click this button and download a resource. Maybe you're writing a social media caption and your goal is that people will share the post. It doesn't matter what the goal is, you have to identify it. So go ahead and before you ever write a single word, whatever it is that you're writing, go ahead and write down what your goal is. Then think about what are some possible objections? If I was going to talk to someone about this, right? The thing that I'm going to teach or inspire or educate or whatever you're doing, what are some reasons somebody might be like, no? Why won't that work? What are some questions they're going to have? What pain points are going to keep them from being ready for the thing that you're talking to them about? Think through their actual experience and write those things down. But think about those core things, 2 or 3 objections they might have to what you're saying, or 2 to 3 questions that they might have, right? Maybe they're not opposed to it, but they're I don't know, is that gonna work for me? What are they going to ask? You can make sure when you actually know what those things are before you start writing, you can address them in your copy. So you're going to actually overcome those objections and answer those questions in the thing that you're writing, which is going to take you 3 steps further down the little buyer's journey toward the goal of whatever it is you want to make progress towards. The last tip I have to share with you about writing more effective copy that works for you and makes more sales is to repurpose what you've already written. So if you've written something great, reuse it. Maybe you wrote an email that got a bunch of responses or had a lot of follow through. People did the thing that you wanted them to do, right? Use that email and repurpose it. Turn it into a blog post, turn it into a couple social media captions, turn it into a second email. Maybe you edit it up, polish it, change it up a little and resend that email, right? Whatever the thing is that you've written, reuse it. Now, one word of caution when repurposing, you very rarely can just copy and paste and reuse something and have it work well. You have to think about who is your audience, have they already seen this and what is your goal, right? So when you're thinking through all of those things, make sure you're adding, tweaking, changing it up so it fits the way you're using it. For example, if you were going to turn a blog post into a social media caption and you literally just copy and pasted, first of all, you're going to be definitely over your character limit, but also it's not going to completely translate. You got to have like a good hook, right, on a social media caption. So you may not have that on your blog post, but you can save so much time and also just get more results out of copy you've already written when you repurpose it. So those are the 3 tips I have for you today. Remember, we're going to write to one audience, just one person, not everyone. We're gonna plan before we write, and then we are also going to repurpose the things we've already written. So you're already on your way to being a professional copywriter. Questions about how to use any of these tips or wanna share how like you used one and it worked well for you, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear.